So, hello everybody, and welcome to the class Introduction to Unix Command Line and Shell Programming. So basically, it is a basic class that doesn't require any prerequisite, and it is basically about how to interact with your computer and computer clusters that implement computations that you can access through the internet. Okay. So here is our agenda. So first we will discuss preparation, the steps that I expect you to be done. If you didn't do anything before the class, it's okay, you can do it later and we can work without it. However, it is good if you have your Hoffman account available and if you can connect it, okay? So on day one, this is workshop of 3 days, and each day we have separate topics. So on day one, we will there will be an introduction to Unix command line. So basically, how to connect to your system, what your system looks like, basic operation with your file system. On the second day, we will discuss advanced command line. It's like processing file, use arc, grep, and set just for working with your file, finding information there, sorting it out, or like filtering something. And on day 3, we are going to talk about shell scripting. So how to organize processing of your files into routine job. Okay. So for example, if you have a lot of data of the same type, you can just write a script and process every single file as well. Okay. So here's a notation on some slides. There is example of codes that are marked with arrow. There are underlined links that you can use on the slides. So there will be a link to the repository where this presentation is located. So you can use them. You can use the slides and use links there. And there will be some practical questions for you during this interaction to gain some skills from the workshop. Okay. So let's discuss about preparation. So what I expect you to have. So first of all, you need to register a Hoffman account. There on the QCB web page for this course, there is a link to the instruction how to register account. If how many of you do not have a Hoffman account yet? So everybody has, right? Oh, you don't have. So you just need to go to the follow the instruction. Huh? Yeah. So you know where to find instructions, right? So you need there is a field in the account. There's this request an account right here. So then where's my mouse? Okay. So okay, here is a link for the registration. And if you don't have a sponsor, you can put in collaborative workshop during the registration. Okay. So, but don't worry, you can use your local terminal. We will learn how to do that. So no problems. To connect to your Hoffman account, you need to find a terminal somehow. So in Linux, so if you work under the Windows or if you like commands that's called MOBA extern, which is like designed for comfortable using of terminals, you can download this this software and you will get your terminal. Right? So another way to get a terminal is using Windows subsystem Linux. which you can install using the instructions following this link. Okay, so this is basically is a layer over the Windows system that interacts with machine using Ubuntu interface. Okay, Ubuntu is part of Linux. Okay, so you can interact like you used to interact through the Windows interface, through the GUI. Recently there appeared another way of interaction through the Linux kernel. Okay, you can use additional options like Kigwin, Geekbash, or Xshell if you ever met them or familiar with them. So this is just some systems that allow you to use terminal. Okay. On macOS, or if you're working on the Linux machine, you can find in the search bar just print a terminal, and you will also have terminal available for you. Okay. So I'm working on the Linux machine or on the Windows machine. However, I also have a Linux terminal, which was available for me through the Linux system. So, and if you use with a macOS or Ubuntu and you click on terminal, you should have similar interface, right? So, okay. If you have any questions during the lecture, you can use Google Doc that I created for you, and you can put your questions here that I'm going to answer. Okay? So during the course, we will touch on the basic information. If you want to go deeper, there is a book that is available online that's called Linux Command Line and Shell Scripting Bible. Okay, so you can access it all online. Okay, well, any questions about preparation?
So are we supposed to have access to these slides?
I will give you an access.
Oh.
Okay. Okay. So any other questions? Okay, so let's get started, and let's start our actual lecture, and let's start with introduction to the Unix command line. Okay, so here's an overview of our today class. We will have 3 hours workshop, 3 section, 45 minutes each. And at the end of the 3rd section, we will have some practice and question and answers section. Okay. So topics. First, we will get familiarize what is Unix, Linux, and command line interfaces. Why do we need it? So then we will try to log in into Hoffman system, explore its file system, or if you don't have access to Hoffman, you can explore file system in your local machine, which is kind of the same. And we're also going to touch basic command lines that allows us to navigate through our system and manipulate our files and directories. Yeah. So what is Unix, Linux? Unix is a family of multitasking, multi-user computer operating systems developed in the 1970s at Bell Labs. It is Unix, and Linux is an open source Unix-like system. Why it's Unix-like? It was developed independently, but the interface is similar to the Unix. So basically, all operating systems that use Unix interface, they called like POSIX systems. They all different, right? But they managed by the same command from the users. Okay? So that joins Unix, Linux, macOS, and other systems. Okay? So a lot of systems, especially that operate clusters, they are POSIX systems. Okay? More commonly, we call them Unix historically, but the majority of them are actually Linux. So if we talking about clusters of any kind, like clusters that operate by Google, used by Google or by Amazon or any cloud service, while you see the interface, under the hood, there is POSIX system, okay? That just happened this way because it was explored that it's most convenient type of managing big systems. Yeah? That's why we need actually know Linux and Unix. If we want to work on clusters with big data, we need to know Unix and we need to know Linux. Okay, so if you see, so connecting to the biology and to genome sequencing, which is currently a major source of data, of biological data, is sequencing experiments, right? And if you see that with the cost of sequencing is constantly dropping, right? So, and it allows to generate more and more data. And today, there is a lot of data already generated that needs to be stored somewhere, processed somehow, and 100% of storages of this data and processing is operated on Linux. So why it's good? Why Linux is so popular for data processing? Because it fits the best for the data processing. It fits best for routine tasks. So if you know how to process one file under the Linux system, you can easily repeat this processing over multiple files, and that makes your routines easy. Right? You just need to know how to do that. How we operate over the machine, how we communicate with the machine. So here's on the left side the ideal system, ideal scenario of interacting with with the machine, right? We want to interact like with human. We want to give not well-formulated task and check if machine understands it. So like we talk with friends, right? So we can tell one thing, machine somehow understands what we are talking about and give us the results that we expect. How's happen in reality? In reality, if we will talk with machine like with human, nothing will happen. It doesn't. It's because machine requires actual direct commands. Right? So while machines are powerful, they cannot guess our minds and then can't implement bad formulated tasks. Okay, so that's why we talk to the machine using strict direct commands and expect to get direct outputs. Okay? So this is our way for interaction. So, and this there are, you know, that there are two types of interaction with a machine, and both fit well for machine to understand what we want from it. It is ways through the command line interface, right, which looks like very boring, right? And another way is through the graphical user interface. So basically, what is the difference is that behind each button under our graphical user interface is some command that can be translated into some code, and basically, so the mechanism of implementation of the command is the same. So it's direct commands. So and command line interface allows us to to interact with machine in a way that machine understand most. So it's like we are programming machine, something like that. So what is the difference between command line interface and graphic user interface? So basically, graphic user interface, or GUI, has only one advantage. It is visually intuitive, right? That's actually good for people who do not program the machine, but use it for some services, right? If you're a graphic designer, you don't need program machine, right? You have other way to interact with machine. They're also direct, they're also translated into command, but you can visually, using your mouse and button, you can interact more efficiently with machines than typing the commands, right? But for us, for people who process data, we are expected to be able to interact with machine like a programmer, more like a programmer. Right? So we are required to know languages, we're required to know algorithms, or at least we're required to know how to build pipelines, right? And the best way to program machine is to using interfaces like command lines. And look, if you ever looked to the program, it's just a list of commands, right? So, and what is the difference between command line interface and this program is that you input your commands one by one into command line interface. There is such a possibility. If you work with graphical user interface, it's hard to directly tell the command to the machine, right? So that's why command line interface is more efficient. So it gives you more control over the files. It requires less system resources to even to the load graphic. It's more cumbersome to load some GUI. We use more keyboards and mouse, and it's actually very convenient. Once you learned all the commands and you learn how to efficiently use your keyboard, it's much easier to interact with machines through the keyboard rather than through the mouse. You can create scripts, so you can write programs for your operating system, and it's going to implement them. And basically, your commands are written more or less in the same language as machine understands it. So our machine doesn't understand when you click button, something should be behind this button when you see the graphical user interface, right? But through the command line, you can type in the command directly that machine understands. Okay. So here's an overview of Open 2 cluster. Okay, this is a cluster that we're going to operate. It has over 1,300 nodes, so it's a pretty big cluster, right? It has 20,000 cores. It's have over 50 terabytes of memory and 2.5 petabytes of storage and backup. Yeah. So it's quite a huge machine, right? So it requires some complex operating system, and it requires some knowledge about programming to manipulate it and even to administrate it. Right? So let's try to access it. Can you open your terminal? Okay. Do you have your terminal open? So now you need to connect to it. To connect to it, you use the command line, the command that's called SSH. So if your terminal is, so basically almost every terminal, even like DOS, now understand, I mean, DOS, it means it's all terminal under this Windows machine. It understands this SSH command. So the format is the following. You need to type SSH, then your username that you were given when you registered at the Hoffman, then add hoffman2.idri.ucla.edu. So who wasn't able to connect it? So those who do not have the account, you can just use your terminal and implement the same commands that we are going to work on Hoffman. Okay? So you still need to open the terminal. Okay, who has struggles with logging into Hoffman now? Are you logged in? Okay, cool. So you see, when you logged in, you received some text from the server. So there is some notices and some news. So you see that there is notice that you cannot run your job directly from the nodes. Right? Why? Who can guess why it happens? Why there is such a rule? As we discussed previously, infrastructure of the Hoffman, you see there is 1,300 computers in the network, right? So, and to run the commands to run your jobs here, there is a requirement for some balancing of the load, right? And for these purposes, there is balancing programs that we are going to touch on the last day. Okay, we are going to learn how to run programs on big machines which consist of networks of computers. Okay? So it's just so it's important. But today we are not going to run anything heavier, so we don't need to know for our day number 1 and actually for day number 2, we don't need to know how to run big works. Okay. Okay. Okay, you have SSH session open. Actually, you can store your session if you click here. So if you use MOBA extern, so what you can do, you can click sessions, you can click then SSH, and then save your credential for the logging. Okay, so it's quite convenient if you need to connect to several clusters. Okay? So the second way, as I said, let me show you the second way. Let me connect to it. So I'm going to use the second way. So it's, oops, yes, probably need to exit. Oops. Okay. I will start again. Okay. So here's my terminal. So I'm running SSH, then this. CLA.edu. Okay, I'm also logged in to the Hoffman. So, and I'm going to use this terminal to show you examples. Okay. So I used this way. So I didn't use the tools that just okay. I'm not going to touch. Okay, let's use this one. Okay. Do you want me to show you access to the Hoffman using mobile store? Okay. Do you have a question?
Yeah, actually, I'm having trouble logging in. I thought it was my password.
Huh?
I'm having trouble logging in.
Uh-huh.
I had to activate my password to do it. That's not letting.
You don't have a password for your account?
I just activated my password, but it's still not letting me in.
Sorry, you cannot log in with your password.
I'm doing the SSH thing and it says not resolved. Those
Cannot resolve host name. Are you logged in into Collaboratory Wi-Fi?
on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Do you have access to the internet?
I did switch to a VPN because I thought it might be good. I know.
Can you run something like so? Okay. Let me run it again. Screen share. Oops. Slide. Sending it screen share. Screen. Okay. Okay, screen two. Okay, here it is. Where is my So let me show you the second one. So let's try to start local terminal, which is quite the same. And you can try the programmer like ping. So do you have this one here?
Okay. It's because that's connected to the UCLA VPN. I can do it.
So we're able to connect right now? No?
It's asking me for the password. Setting.
Okay, okay, you can log in. That's good. Okay. Okay, sounds great. Uh-huh.
I think I activated my password last time, but then I didn't change it and like the link doesn't work anymore. That's a one time.
Uh-huh.
So I don't have access to my password. I was wondering.
And you don't remember your password.
Yeah, because I didn't change it, but I had trouble logging in when I first got.
Uh-huh.
Is it
So
possible to change?
what it tells to you? So it asks you for the password. You input your old password, right?
Let me see. When I click start local terminal,
Uh-huh.
it just like brings me back.
Just let's see. What is your system? Is it Windows?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Trying to. Oh, no. Where is this? Oh, okay. This one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Probably we need another one. Okay, where's this Windows button? This should be. Oh, okay. 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 So try to repeat the same SSH. Yeah. It should work the same way. Let me know if you have any troubles. Who else have any troubles?
I do have a trouble.
No?
I
Okay.
do. I forgot my password, so it's telling me the access is denied.
Access is denied. You don't have your password.
No, I don't. I mean, I tried the ones that I thought I chose, but it's not working.
Did you change your password as it was
Yes.
instructed? And you forget. Okay. Then you need to write So guys, who forget your password or have troubles with password, just connect the administrator, okay, using
Okay.
the guides for Hoffman, and I hope they will easily resolve it. And at this moment, just try to use your terminals that you're trying to use to connect the Hoffman, just to continue our exercises, okay? Any question? No? Okay. Let's get started. I assume that half of the students have connected to the Hoffman, and another half may use local terminal to work on exercises. Okay. Yeah. So sounds good. Okay. So what is inside Unix shell? So once you're connected, you see this this indentation bar at the beginning of the bottom string, right? What is it what it's trying to tell us? So first of all, the first part is your username. Right? Then after add sign, there is a server name. And then there is a folder name where you're currently in. And after that, there is a cursor that invites you to type your comments. Okay. So what does folder mean? Of name means? So in Linux, there is such a concept as a current folder, that is the folder that you currently operate under. We will discuss it a little bit later. So how to type the comments? If you type anything, for example, let me type my first comment to the terminal. So let's type my first comment. For example, I can type comment echo. Oh, you don't see anything. Oops. So, wait. Oops, it's where it is. Okay, I will make it small. So I can just type in my comments here. I know the comment that's called echo. That just types to the terminal what I want to type. For example, I want to type echo hello world. So very famous first type of first program, right? Just to test the system. Gosh, what's up? Okay, let's try beginning. Echo. Oops. Okay, at least hello is printing. Okay. So what did I do? What did I do? I just first I printed the name of the comment, and then I passed some arguments to it, right? So for argument, I use just a single word hello. And after that, I typed enter, and my program was executed. So what I asked to type the word hello to the terminal. Okay. So if no error message is displayed, that means that usually the program finished finished normally and successfully. Okay. So try to run your first program. So The first program should be hello world. So what was the problem with my command is that I forget that for bash, oh, okay, let's kill this one. Okay. For bash, you need to use single quotation mark for the strings. Yeah. Do you know from the Python what is string data type? No? Yeah. Everybody knows what it is. Okay, I will explain you. So if you want to print a string, you need to indicate computer that this is a string. And Bash understands that this is a string if I put a single quotation mark to the beginning and to the end of my string. This is just a syntax, okay? So now it works successfully. But if I substitute it with the double quotation mark as I did before, yeah, it doesn't understand that it is a string because I violated the syntaxes.
Why did it work without the quotes?
Hmm?
Why did it work without the quote?
Why? Maybe it works. I don't know. Let's check. It works without the quotes. Yeah. But for the quotes, it has a special meaning for double quotes. Okay. And if you do not use the quotes, it treats it as two strings actually, because space is a separator. So what you need to know is that to run the command, you need to run the command name and then pass the arguments. Okay. Here is your second command. So you can put a print git clone this https github. So and basically you need to type it in. Okay. Let me. So type in this command. So what this says is that you're using git command with argument clone and with the second argument what to clone. Okay. So basically you downloading the material for the course. Okay. Very successful. If you do it under your local machine, you can see that some files are going to be downloaded to your system that you can navigate using your operating system. So. Okay, who's ready? You done? Okay, cool. What was the question?
When I enter the command, it's asking me for a username.
For username. Can you just put enter? Did it work?
Not asking for a password.
Huh?
Password?
When you inputted an empty line, what did it answer?
And then instead of the username, it's asking for a password.
Again.
Yeah, I'm getting the same thing.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's my problem. Let me make it public. Yeah. So maybe it's my problem. Yeah. Strange. I was able to. Okay. It is public one. So let me try to do it myself. So git clone HTTPS. Use. Oh, I was able to do that previously. Let's remove it. How do you see one? Oh, for me it works. No. Try one more time. Make sure that you print the comment correctly and without typos.
Yeah.
Did it work? So let me put it into chat. So, oh, there is, it also works. So it works for, okay, I put it into chat. And who struggles? Okay. Well, let me help. Okay, cool.
Is it supposed to show?
Yeah. So you are under some other so you see there is a different indentation line that from previous one.
Oh.
That means that you are under something else, and you have a type, here is a signal for and there is double.
Oh.
That means you didn't exit from F. Yeah.
I see.
So you can excuse me.
Okay.
Okay, so let's move on. So should we make a break for 5 minutes? And okay, let's make a break for a while, okay? So we will start in 10 minutes at 2:35, okay? Okay, let's continue. So the command git is working, it is a special command that that was developed by people who are working with code repositories. Right? And one of the repositories is a GitHub that use Git. So if you just copy this address and put it into your browser, so put it here into your browser. you will get to the repository. So you can see that it was forked from Dr. Guo, who teaches this course last term. I forked it and you can access now from my repository. So there is a lot of files that you can access. So if you look at it, there should be files inside it. And some of the files are presentations. So you just need to explore this link a little bit and you will find the presentation here. Okay. So it is going to be, so maybe I should just. Can you see my mouse? Where is it? See my mouse. Here it is. So you see there are files and there are slides. Okay. Okay. Here it is about Git. Now let's continue our discussion about Linux operating system. So every file system, including Linux, has some file structure, like your Windows, like your macOS, and anything. So file structure in Linux is similar to any other system, and it is tree. Right? So you have some node on the top, which is like which is a root, and you can see that there are folders that are attached to the root. Right? So in every single folder, you can see other folders. That's how tree data structure is organized. So it's kind of recursive. So you can create folder inside other folder and populate it with other folders and files. Right? So very familiar. So in Linux, everything starts with the root file, which is just marked as a slash, right? So tilde bar. So there are to assign an address. There are two types of defining the location of your files and your folders. So they call it absolute path or relative path. Okay, so it is a very important concept because there could be error happens when instead of absolute path you're trying to use relative path and vice versa. So what means absolute path? Absolute path always start with the root directory. Okay, so you can see in this tree structure that there is a folder that's called home that sits under the root folder, right? This home folder is where all user data is located. So inside this home folder, there is folder with your username under the Hoffman, or if you're working under your local machine, your username inside your local machine. Okay, so that means that absolute path for your home folder, for your user home folder, is like start with root slash, then folder name's home, and then your username. Okay. When you logged in inside your machine, you automatically put into your home folder, into folders that are assigned for your user, right? And starting from this point, relative path is everything that goes above inside the folder. So all your files are connected with a relative path to your current to your folder where you're currently working. Okay, you can change your working folder. For example, I will show you later how to change your working folder, right? But any folder can be your working folder. And from this point, to access the same files, you need to change somehow your relative path in according where you are currently, right? If you're working with relative path. With absolute path, every single file has always unique address. So, for example, if I sit, so you see here in the tree, there is a file that's called hello world. You see it here, right? So it belongs to user if, right? And it has constant absolute address, home if hello, root home if hello world, right? So absolute path always start with this slash. Okay? Relative path starts always with letter or number, with legal name for your file. And when you try to use relative path, you need to think about where you're sitting right now. So if I sit under the home folder, then the relative path if hello world is valid. If I change this file, for example, if I go directly to the if, so then relative path is no more actual, while absolute path is always unique for each single path. Yeah. Okay. Basic commands to navigate through the file system are cd. So the basic commands that you want to know to successfully navigate through the system are pwd, cd, and ls. So pwd returns your back, and by default it prints on the screen the path, the absolute path of your working directory. So let's try to, we have logged in into our Hoffman, and let's try to put pwd. You see, it has path. Cannot find my cursor. Okay, so you see, under the Hoffman, we have root, which is this slash, then a directory called u, probably it's acronym for users. Then you have folder home, then s, then my username, right? If you print your pwd, you will have almost the same except for the last folder, right? I can change the folder by calling cd command. Okay, so we discussed pwd, So here is the syntax. It's called print working directory. So shows absolute path of current directory. You tried it, okay? Right? Okay. Next command is cd, which is for change directory. And it allows you to go to another directory. So cd command requires one parameter, which should be a path. Path can be whether absolute path or relative path, right? So currently we are in my home directory. We printed it with pvd. Now, since we downloaded some files using git command, we expect to have some structure here, right? So we can change directory because we downloaded this project QC bio intro to Unix, right? And we use relative path to change our directory at the level of QCB intro to Unix, okay? When I print enter, I change my directory. How to check that I changed my directory is use previous command, which is pwd, right? Okay, my path is changed, right? Okay. So next, okay, I will discuss about it. So there is a special sign. There are some special special files that are marked with special characters. For example, there is such files that called just tilde, that just marked with tilde. This one is always attached to your home directory. Okay, if you put cd tilde, you will go back to your home directory. Let's try it and print our working directory. Okay. Another directory is indicated with a single dot. A single dot indicates a current directory. For example, if I print cd dot, it does nothing. It doesn't change because we are always in the current directory. Let's test it in QC bio. So I went back to QC bio and tried to cd dot. I didn't go anywhere, right? Because it's current directory. The special folder that is indicated with two dots is a parent directory. So if I put cd two dots, I will go back to my parent directory, which is my home. If I do it again, I will go to its parent directory, and each folder has one parent directory, right? So I am an S, right? Okay. So you already practiced. You printed your absolute directory, and you go to the QC bio intro with me. Try it one more time. So try to use this cd command and pwd command to practice it a little bit. Any questions about?
What is the two dot, the CD two dots supposed to do again?
It is go to parent directory. So each folder has one parent directory, right? So you see here, if I go to my home directory, And if I go to the parent of my home directory, it is going to be this directory, right? U home S, where all home folders for all of us, including everybody who has account here, is sitting, right? Okay, who has questions? No? Okay, cool. Next. There is a command that called ls. It's for listing files. Okay. So this command accept one or two arguments. So one of the arguments is the absolute or relative path for the directory that you want to list, right? So let's try it. Then we discuss the second argument, okay? So let's try it. Let me go back to my home directory, and when I print ls, it shows me all the folders and files that are inside my home directory. Okay. If I go level up, I can see all users in the system. You see, I use dot to indicate that I want to list current folder. You see, there is a lot of users. Yeah. And I also said that it accepts one or two arguments. It can accept one argument or 0 arguments, which means the current folder. Okay. So let's go back to our. Let's go back to our home. You can go basically to the root and list root. You will see all the folders that were on my slide. So these are special folders for special files that the system uses to process my command, to store data, and so on and so forth. But for us, the main folder is the tilde, which is our home folder. Okay. There are always rules where you have to store your user files, especially if they are large, your config files. And for Hoffman, there are rules where to store your files. So you do not store it to the root directly, but it's a different story. For us, for our practice, our main folder is our home. Okay. I just trying to tell that it is not always, not every system organizes the same way. So, okay. There are usually rules where you store your stuff, and it depends on the server. Okay, so let's go to our QCB file, to our folder that we downloaded, and see what is inside. cd qc file and print ls. Okay, there are folders that we saw from the web page, right? So the structure is the same. So there are flags that list accept. So for example, there is flag -l that shows the long list for the files. So if you see here, if you run this command ls -l on your machine, you will see that there is a lot of fields printed alongside with the name of the file, right? We will first discuss what these fields mean, but for now you need to know that there is several options that you can use flags. So flags, if it's a single letter flag, so there are in Unix, there are several ways to set flags. One of them is single letter, and single letter flags always passed with one dash. Okay, and you can enumerate single letter flags one by one if you want to set several flags. And command ls accepts several flags. So one of the flags is L. So that returns you this table. And the second flag is -A. Okay. So if I print, let's enumerate them, and let's put two flags, one after one, ls minus LA. You will see that there are more files in the system that it was previously. Why it's happened? So you see there is a special file that starts with the dot, right? Basically, it is everything that starts with the dot is treated as a hidden file. So if you want to see the hidden files, you need to pass the flag A. So first flag is L, which gives you the table with a special meaning, and the second flag is A, that shows you hidden files and folders. Okay. So next, you can sort files. If you pass the flag S. Okay, let's sort the files. So I print again ls minus L to show the long list, and capital S to sort files. And you see that they are sorted by the size by default. Okay. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth column is the size of the file. The sixth column, 6, 7, and 8 column is the date of the file when it was created. Okay. So to sort the files by the creation time, I can use ls minus lt. T is for the time. Okay. All flags are listed in the slide, so you can use later it's as a cheat sheet, or you can download cheat sheet for Linux command. So you don't have to memorize it from now. You just need to try to use them, right? And for memorization, usually if you will use a Google search keywords like Unix cheat sheet commands, it will give you all the basic commands. Okay, so no need for memorization. So, however, you see, I used another flag, which is time, and now my files are sorted by time. Okay. So let's discuss why we need this 1, 2, 3, 4, first four columns in this table. So the first one describes us the type of the file and its permissions. We will discuss permissions a little bit later. So security is an important part of every operating system. So there is several layers of security, and to check the level of security, you use this table. So there are different users, different groups, and you can give different permission to different people, because you don't want everybody to see or to use your files or to read or to modify your files, right? So you can set it in the Linux. The first letter is telling you whether it's directory or it's a file. You see here that when it's dash, it's in the first letter is dash, it indicates that this is a file. All other files, all other okay, let's call them all other files. It's an actual files, all other files are directories. Okay, so okay, then the third, so the fourth, where's my mouse? Okay, 1, 2. The third column is the name of the users to whom this file is belong. The fourth is the group. So you have two important concepts. One is your username, and the second one the groups that you belong to, right? And here is the owner of the group that owns this file. Okay, in my case, since I belong to group Pasanyuk, because my PI is Professor Pasanyuk, so these files automatically assigned to his group. Okay, so and so here is the table again, and this the second row, the second column is the number of links assigned to this file as follows. So we will discuss cross links a little bit later. Okay, so it's basically who refers to your file, something like that. Okay, so don't worry much about links yet, so we'll discuss it later. Okay, there are tips, very important tips for comfortable usage of the terminal. So first tip is you can use arrows. Try to use your arrows back and up and down. You see, you can navigate through the history of your commands. The second tip, try to print something like ls to list the files and what files we're going to list. For example, we want to list slides. Type just one S and press tab. See what happens. It makes autocomplete, right? Try to do the same thing. So remove list slides. So you see the files. Now try to list day one. Try to put ls d and press tab. So you see it didn't complete entirely. It complete only the common part because it doesn't know how to autocomplete it further. It's also very useful because if your name is very long, you probably would like to autocomplete at least part of it, right? So here is it's short, and you need to decide how to resolve it. If you put 1, 2, or 3, you will resolve it. If you want to see what options do you have, you need to press tab 2 times. Try to put tab 2 times. So you see, it lists me all the options that I have for resolution. Okay. So let's see day 1, and it's resolved. Okay. Try to go to slides. And try to list some PDF file. You see, it doesn't resolve, but it gives me the options for resolution. I put the first capital Q, and after pressing the tab, I don't need to put this very long string in order to, because I can do it by using autocompletion. Okay. Okay, let's see next. So if you, another tip, you can use history command. So if you put history command, you will see all recent commands that you inputted. Okay. And another one, if you want your screen to be clear, you can print the command clear, and your screen will be erased. Okay. Any questions about that? Okay, here is practice that we already done. So let's see what we didn't do. So you can practice a bit to try these commands on your own. So I will give you, let's say, 2 minutes. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. Okay? So we have 3 powerful commands in our arsenal, which is cd for changing directory, pvd for printing current directory, and ls for listing the files.
Could you remind us how to do the human readable mode?
Oh, human readable. Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Okay, so for human readable, so there is option H. So human readable is related to the command ls, and when we put the flag L, it gives us it gives us the table, and is in this table the size of files are in bytes. So let's for better illustration, let's move to day one. So there are file let's move to slides, sorry. CD. So ls slides minus L. So it is not clear what size of the file is, right? If I put the option H, it's going to be printed in human readable format. So 3.8 megabytes for the first day presentation and about 1.5 megabytes for the second day. So yeah, thank you. Anything else? Okay, let's continue. So now let's discuss the first column in our table that is about file permissions. So as you can see, there is a bunch of letters here, including dashes and so on and so forth. So first one we discussed, the first letter is a file type. So it can be with a directory or file or other types that we didn't touch it. So we will discuss it later. We should, okay. So then we have 9 letters for assigning the file permission. So first 3 letters indicates the permission of the owner. Owner is who owns the file. In these slides, it shows it's Dr. Gu who owns these files. In my case, it's me because I have my own structure. In your case, it's you, right? You're the owner of these files. The second group of 3 letters is a permission for the group that you belong. So you can belong to, this file is belong to, right? So you can belong to several groups. So one group is the same as your name, then there can be many other groups that you can belong with. For example, your group, like here, it's who is PI. This system is set this way. Or you can create your own groups and add people that you like to add to this group, right? So this way, through the groups, you can share files with specific people. So for example, if you want to share with somebody specific, you need to create this group and add only a specific person in this group, right? And change permission to your files or folders with the name of this specific group. Okay, that's how it works in Linux. Okay, and the last three letters before the dot is permission of other users. Other users is everybody. So what permissions do everybody have to your files? No. So, and there are why there are three letters is because there are three different types of permissions. So there are three types of assigning permissions: you personally, I mean owner of the file, then group of the file, and all others, right? And each one has three types of permission. First one are whether you allow to read the file. So basically to print it out, to get access to it, or to see the file, right? If you allowed, this flag is set to R. If you are not, this is empty. The second one is W. Is it allowed for you to write the file? So to modify, to change this file, right? And the third permission with letter X is that whether you're allowed to execute this file. So if it's script, you need to put the permission X in order to tell the machine that this owner or group or all others can execute this file. If it's set, if this flag is not set, nobody can execute. Even if it's script, you will not execute. This is actually a common problem. So when what's it called?
Sorry, you can finish what you were saying.
Okay, so when on the day 3 we are going to write our scripts. So if you do not change this flag, it's not going to run because it's not executable. What's it?
So what does executable mean for a folder? Is it just like being able to open the folder?
It's a good question. Actually, it was testing it. I never tried. So I had some issues, I believe. So I don't know. It's is it recursive or not? That's the question. So I just don't remember. So we can experiment it on the last day. Okay. So because I remember that I had some issues only once in my life, and just by several trials I solved. So and I don't remember the results. Yeah. So there are two options, right? Whether all inside file are allowed to be executed or not. Yeah. And which option is true, I don't remember. Yeah. So here's an illustration for what all these flags assert for, right? So three groups of users, or user cell, group, and all, and three types of permission. Okay. So you see on the slide there is third type of file that is a link. I don't want to discuss it yet because we do not use, like you see there is file type. The third one is on the slides. It says it's link, so we are going to touch it later. Okay. So to set the permission, we use we use numbers, right? So so read options is in code is 4. The write options is encoded as 2, and execute options is encoded as 1. So to understand what type of permission your user have, you just need to add up these numbers. For example, for RWX, the sum of 4, 2, and 1 is going to be 7. So 7 means that owner can do everything. Write file, read file, and execute the file. So if it's 4, 4 serves only for reading, right? So if it's 5, it's for reading and execution, right? So basically, it's binary encoding of this field, right? So, and this is enough to encode all these 7 possible options. Actually, not 7, but yes. Okay. 8000 is also an option if you don't have any rights to the file. Okay. To change the mode of the file, there is a command that's called change mode. So it basically changes the permission to the files. So the syntax is the following. So you use you print change mode file or change mode command with this hhmod, and then you raise the use literal assignment to the permissions that are going to change, or numeral. So you can encode as we discussed, we can set the mode with numbers, and we can directly put it here. So for example, if we want to change, so let's go, let's try to use this command. So we want to change mode for readme files, for example. We can put it 777, so everybody, user can do whatever he wants, groups can do with the file whatever they want, and all others also can modify, see, and modify and execute this file. It's just for an example, just for illustration, to see how fields are going to change. So let's list just this file, readme. So it has this permission by default: read, write for user, so user can read, can see the file, read the file, and change the file, or other can only read the files, right, including group users and all other users. If I change the mode to, for example, 744, or to 744, ls, everybody can execute the file. Oh, ls minus l readme. Okay, so basically for 744, it's only user can execute the file, so we changed the mode of the execution. So we can also use letters to change the mode of the file. So if I put change mode of the file, so I can use with U for user, group for group, O for others. Oh, sorry, you don't see the slides. So you see here this one. So you can use U for users, G for groups, O for others. If you don't want to encode with the numbers, if you don't, if it's not obvious what numbers means, right? You can use literals. For example, if I want to use to change some permission for users, I put U, right? Then, depending on what do I want to remove or add the permission to the file, I use with a plus or minus. Okay. For example, I want to remove the permissions for user. And what permissions do I want to remove? For example, execution and writing. Okay. The same as it's in table. R, W, R for reading, W for writing, X for execution. Right? And then I need to specify which file do I want to remove permission from. Let's do it for README. Okay. So I change mode for README file. Now let's see if it's get any effect on it. So you see permissions are for everybody. Okay, let's return everything back. We can with the use command change mode. It is going to be 6. So 4 plus 2 is 6, right? 6, 4, 4. I put it directly as it was before. Let's see. With me. Okay. Or I can use letters like change mode. It's already changed, but whatever, just for illustration, like user plus writing and reading. Okay. So nothing changed because he already had permissions. So okay. Any questions about permission? Because why it's important? Because when something doesn't run, so you will have errors like you don't have access or something. Check permissions first. Yeah. So you should be very careful with permissions, with who owns the file, who files belongs to. Yeah. And be careful if you change the file owners to somebody else, right? Because it's your file, you can change the owner. But once you change the owner, you can have trouble to change it back when you lose privileges.
So you can only change permissions to files that you own.
But you can change the owner. Okay. So here's the practice. So give readme file execution permission and convert day1 folder to a private folder. So group others, users cannot read, write, or execute files. Yeah, and I believe it looks like I remembered how it works for directory. It's indeed if your file inside the directory have permission to execute or read write for others, but if folder itself can protect it. Yeah. But you can test. I'm still hesitating. Okay, maybe let's make a break for 5 minutes, okay? Any questions? Any questions on the Zoom? Okay. Okay, our next topic is about modifying our. So currently we can only look into our file system, right? But we can also modify it. And in our next part, we are going to discuss how to do this. So there are several operations. The first type is to create or delete files. Second, copy or move file. You can also view or modify the files. And you can compress, decompress files if you want to save some space. And download and upload files. Okay. So all this type of files, all these types of modification of your file system is available under Linux as it is available under your GUI operating system. Right? So first of all, oops, my battery is running out. Just 1 second. So first of all, we are going to create some file, right? So for creating the directory, there is a command that called mkdir. So it's just for making directories. To create the file, you can use the command called touch. So both of these commands accept an argument. It's whether a directory path or a file name. Okay. So try to create my folder and my file in your home directory. So for creating my directory, I just put mkdir and my folder. Okay. If I will list it, you can see that my created folder is here. Yeah. If I want to create a file, I put touch and my file name, my file.txt. It will create an empty text file. Okay. So now we can create files, a directory and files. If directory already exists, it is going to give you an error. So try to create try to create existing directory and file. Okay, so if I create my, you can use your arrow buttons, right, to repeat the command. If I'm trying to create the directory for the time, I have an error. However, I can recreate a file. So be careful if you touch the files that exist. It will. I don't think it is going to affect the content of the file. We will test it later, but at least it will change its time of the creation. Okay. To delete the file, you use a ram command. It actually removes not only files but also can remove directories. But to remove the directories, you have to put a flag. So if your directory is not empty and has some directories inside it, it or files inside it, it is going to draw raise an error that directory is not empty. To remove without to remove the directory and all its content, you need to put the option -r. If you want system to ask you to confirm before removing of each file, you need to set the flag I. It asks you for interactive file removal. By the default, RAM command do not give any output to you. If you want to see what is actually removing, you need to put the option V, which is called verbose. And if you put the option V, it is going to it is going to list every single file and folder that is removing. And the last option is force. So that means -f. Sometimes it's useful, especially if you have some permission conflicts. So it's going to, if you remove directory where you have permission conflicts, it's going to bother you. Do you want to delete this file or not? So, and to remove it without asking, you could use -f option. Okay. So be careful with deletion. So there is no trash bin in Linux. If you remove file, it's go forever. Okay. So if you accidentally delete your data file, you're not going to restore it. So use backups. Backup all your important files. Make copies of files. So if you work with file, if you modify that, it's a good idea to, if it's important file, and if it's contains some information that you don't want to lose, just copy it. Okay. Okay. And you can also use the option if you don't want to lose the files. Use the option 444 that prevents everybody from from modifying the files, right? So if you don't have permission to remove file, you will not remove it. Okay. So here's the practice: create folder name my folder and file name my file name. Remove both the folders and file in interactive mode. So for example, I touched my file. Change mode to 444 my file. Now I'm trying to remove it. You see, it is going to ask me if I want to remove it or not. So be careful. So the permission mode 444 only gives you, so you see I still removed it. So I was able to remove it because I answered yes. So let me repeat it again. So I created file, I changed mode. I think that I prevented it from removal. However, there is a couple of ways to overcome this, right? So one I showed you. So it's asking me, are you sure you want to remove this file, right? But I can even bypass this message. I'm removing my file. Well, so see the option. So see the permission mode of my file. It is my file txt, so it's read only. And when I'm trying to delete it, remember I told you about force option that allows you to bypass removing read-only files. If I put -f option, it is not going even to ask me, do I want to remove it or not? Okay. Okay, let's move forward. So you can copy files and folders. So if you want to copy folders, you also need to set option R, because otherwise it's going to raise you an error. R means recursive, that you're going to copy the folder and its content. It also has options I and V, the same way that it has for RM option for RM. So I is for interactive mode and V is for verbose mode. So for copy, you have to assign two paths, right? One is the source and the second is destination. So it's important to remember that source always go first. Okay. So you can copy, you can try copy files, but if you change source and destination, so you can think that you copied one folder into another, but in real life it can be vice versa. So you should be very careful about copying, because copying, if you overwrite the files, it can also destroy your data. Okay. Yeah. Let me make an example. So for example, I want to copy readme to day 1. So I'm copying readme into day 1. So now I have readme inside day 1. Okay. Now I want to copy this day 1. So I have two files, right? Day 1 readme, and I want to copy it here. It's just overwrited the files that I have. So be very careful. I will illustrate it later when we modify the files. Okay. So next, we can move files using mv command. It's for move. So using mv command, you can first move the whole files or folders to a different location, or to change the name. If you want to rename your file or folder, you call mv command. Okay. So here is your practice. Copy day 1 to day 1 backup. Copy readme to readme copy and move it to day 1 backup. Then rename readme copy as tmp. Okay. Any questions?
Since we don't have day 1 backup, do we want to create it as a directory or a file?
You can copy it using the options like let's try it. So, So we have, so I can copy day one, just day one backup. Yeah, so I start with this one. So let's see what will happen. It says it's a meeting directory. Why it's a meeting? It's not about creation, you see. As I said, that with folder, there can be problem because folder has something inside it, right? So to bypass this, we need to put an option -r, recursive. Right? And after that, it happens. So the rule is the following: you need to carefully read the messages, the error messages, right? So it doesn't say anything about day one backup. It says that it's a meeting directory day one. So, and you should think about copying files and removing files as a tricky operation. Now, for example, if you want to remove day one backup, right? It's also going to say you something. So, for example, I forget about flags, right? That may happen. It says it is a directory, right? That something went wrong. And now, oh, I remember, I forget the flag. I always forgetting about this flag. Yeah. For copying is the same thing. For moving, it is not this. It moves files in folders easily, but copying and removing made this way.
So when you use the flag R and it removes the content, does it put the content back to its original file?
No, no, it's gone forever. It doesn't do anything extra. It's very direct. So there's no backup.
So if you want to move a file with the data into another file, you can do that.
You can do that, and it's a good idea to move it. So you need to create backup. So you see here, for example, our day one is a data, right? So and I don't want to lose it. So what I do exactly the same. CP -r day one to day one backup. Day one backup. Okay. Okay, I'm fine. I accidentally deleted day one. Right? Oops. I don't have day one anymore. What should I do? Oh, I remember. I have a backup. Now I raise a copy CP -r my -r my day one backup to day one. Right? It's one option, and I will again have a backup and a day one. Or if I'm done with working with this file, I can just move. I don't need even options are. If I move, I don't have backup anymore because I just renamed it. I renamed my backup to day one. If I want to continue working, it's a good idea to copy that will leave my backup untouched. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. So there is a command to see the content of the file, which is called cat. It's from concatenate because it always. So what is concatenate? So for example, if you have fragments of information in different files, so by using cat, you can So I explain why it's concatenate, because this option not only reads the files and can do some extra stuff. So for example, it can join fragments of the files, right? But it's often used for just seeing the file. Okay, so it accepts one argument, which is file name. So for example, cat readme. You see, I can see the contents of the, or print the content of the file on my screen, right? Alongside with printing, and can do other stuff we do not discuss yet. Okay. Okay. Let's go further. We can modify file. So for modification file, there is a vim command. So originally it was vi, and it's actually exists in your system, but there is improved vi, which is vim. It is not. It is. It is not a standard editor, text editor. So you need to learn a little bit about it, how to use it. So I will give you very basics how to work with the Vim, but you can get a separate tutorial if you want to use Vim in your life. Actually, it is very powerful, and I'm using it all the time. So why you should be aware that it's not a regular editor. Okay, let me just show you how to work with it, right? So it's a little bit tricky. So if you open, let's try to open our test file from the day one test. Okay, so vim is my command name, and then I put the file name. So what I see here that looks like a regular editor, but there are two modes in Vim editor. So first one is a command mode, and the second one is the editing mode. Currently, it's in a command mode. And for example, if you press the word Q, you expect something to happen, right? But nothing happening. Instead of printing something, you see it's changing its properties on the bottom side. So it's recording, and once you in recording, you can stuck forever in this Vim if you don't know what is going on. So so be careful. You open Vim, you need to know that it's puts you directly into command mode. There are several commands, and one of them is to switch it to insert mode. To switch it to insert mode, you print letter I. Okay. Once you printed letter I, you see it's inside insert mode. It's written on the corner where it was recording, right? It's insert now. When it's insert mode, you are printing whatever you want. Okay. Once you stop editing, so it works now like a regular editor. So once you don't want to edit anymore, you press escape button. It's back into command mode. So you can press escape as much as you want, trying to exit if you entered somewhere weird inside the command mode, because command mode is a little bit weird if you don't know how to use it. So now you want to save file somehow, right? And you don't know how to save it. So there is a command. So there is another command mode. So if you put columns. You see on the side there is a columns. So now you entered in mode where you can print your comments. So, and to save this file, you print W. Okay. So you print a W, and now your file is saved. So to exit from the Vim, you press Q button. So remember, insert for inserting. To exit it, you need to use column. And to save your changes, you just print WQ. Okay, try to use it. Try to use Vim. Try to skip saving, it will give you an error. It will say you that your changes are not saved. Or if you want to exit without, so for example, you can use, so if you enter it into, if you're editing a file in Vim and you inputted some changes and then you suddenly think that you don't need your changes, you're trying to quit and you see there is an error. So you cannot quit. So what are you going to do? So there is a command, guys, there is a command, exclamation mark. So you put exclamation mark Q and it will ignore errors and quit. Okay. What's happening? Shift. Okay. Okay. Order method. So here is list. Yes, here's on this slide the list of command that you're going to use when you are in command mode. So to go to insert mode, you press I. When you finished, you press escape. To exit from your file, you put W if you want to write, Q if you want to quit, W to quit, it's write and quit, and force quit, to quit without changes, you input quit and exclamation mark. Okay. So if you remember this sequence of commands, you can use Vim to edit your text. Okay. Okay. So modify your text in test file, save it, quit, and output what you have edited by using cat command. So let's use cat command. So I exited from the VI from editing mode, and I trying to print it out. So day one test. Oh, it's printed out my input. Okay. So create a new file using VI with content is just one sentence, which is less is more. Okay. and print it out using cut. So next command is to compress file. So there are several options to compress the files, and one of them is to use gunzip. So to compress the file using gunzip, you just print command name gunzip and then file name. So to decompress, you use option D and provide a compressed file. Okay, so let's try to compress our project. So let's get out of the QCP bio intro to Unix, and now I print gzip and folder name QCP bio. Oh, it's okay. I don't remember how to do it for directories. Okay, let's do it for files. CD QCP. Let's compress just one file. So gzip readme and you see that it has created an archive for me. If I want to decompress it, let's remove file readme, readme. Oh, it's already removed. Yeah, it doesn't leave the file, so it just compresses it. Okay, so to decompress it, I use gzip readme. Okay, let's try to cut it first. So you see it's compressed if I'm trying to cut it. Right? So let's use gzip to decompress it. Gzip minus D and my readme. Okay. Now archive is removed and my file appeared again. Okay. Another way to create files is tar. It's a short name of tape archive. So it's also it's very rich command. It can create archive of different types, but the most common is tar gz. So if you see an extension of tar gz, that means that this archive was created with tar. To create tar archive, you need to use option CZF. V is just for verbose, like it was for previous, like it was, for example, NRM. C means create. Z means it's target. F means file. Okay, so let's try to create an archive. I'm going back to previous to the parent folder of this project, and let's try to create an archive for the whole directory. So tar CZF, and I'm going to ignore verbose. I don't want it. So then I have to specify the archive name. Okay, so I use tab because I want to my archive has the name of my folder, then I manually put tar.gz. Otherwise, it's not going to add this extension automatically. So tar works this way. And then I put the folder that I'm going to compress. Okay, it doesn't remove the original folder, it just creates a new archive. Okay, so now to extract the archive, I need to use actually just one option, tar -x. It will automatically understand that this is a file, and it will automatically understand that it is tar.gz archive. But here on slide, you see you use all these options. It's basically the same. Okay, so I am trying to unarchive QC bio with just one options -. Oh, what happens? -Excel. It's automatically understand that this is the type of the archive, but what it doesn't understand is input. Okay, so okay, so F is an option to specify that this is a file archive. So as I said, tar is very rich command, so it archives not only files. So let's see. It doesn't remove archive, but it has overwritten all the files inside my folder. Okay. See. So you can download and upload file. Do you want to try tar, by the way? Yeah, try tar. Yeah, just test it. It does touch, change the content of the file, and actually it doesn't. It just change the timestamp. Okay, so next thing is, okay, you can you would probably want to transfer files to your cluster and to upload files from the cluster, right? So for this purposes, you can use you can use scp command. So it's acronym for secure file copy. So like CP, but SCP. So that means that you can use it to copy files between files that are located on different systems. Okay. So SCP works the same way. So the first part is your file destination. So the files that you're going to copy, and the second part where you're going to copy it, right? So if you want to upload the file, you use this command scp, then the path, absolute path or relative path for the files that you're going to copy, and then your address at Hoffman or other cluster as you used for SSH here. Okay, so it is your username, then at Hoffman ID UCLA edu. Then you put column and path in your system. If you put relative path, it starts with your home folder. If you put absolute path, it's okay. It works like absolute path on the system. Yeah. Okay. To download the files, you use this on the first place. You put your file on your Hoffman, so you need to specify username, set the address, set the path, and then you see use this talk to specify that you want to download to this location where you call it from. If you want to, you can use instead of dot, you can use other path, but there should be some, right? Okay. So do you want to try download or upload files? So you can try to upload, to download some. So you need to open another terminal, right? To test it. And without logging in to the Hoffman, you need to run SCP. Okay. So I can show you if you want. So I'm opening. No, I'm scared to get out of this presentation notes. Just a second. So let's try to do it this way. So here it is. Okay. Here we go. I'm trying to open another terminal. Okay. Here is my second terminal. So this is my home machine. So this is basically my Linux machine or my Windows machine, right? So let's create another test file. My test one.txt. Okay, and I'm going to add your test file. Okay, so now it's on my machine. It's my Linux machine. It's not Hoffman. So now I scp this my test file to my account at Hoffman. And then I have to specify my home folder by tilde. Okay. Name or servers. Oh, okay. Let's just do this way. Name of oh. Okay, okay. I got that. UCLA. Okay. Now I go to my second terminal for where I logged into Hoffman, and now I can see that there is a file. So let's cd to home directory. In the lesson, you see here is my test. There should be my test1 txt. So I can get this file. Yeah. Okay, did you test downloading, uploading? Okay.
The downloading option. How does it know, based off of the slide, how does it know which file you're trying to download?
It's a good question. So it knows because we specify it explicitly. So let's see. It's by example. So here's I'm on my local machine. I want to download file from the server. I use SCP. Then I specify what I want to download. I print the full name as my account name, then Hoffman to Hydre dot UCLA dot edu, right? Then I put semicolon, and I'm here in my home folder. If I want to use full path, I start with root folder. If I want to use my relative path, relative to my home folder, I just start typing. So there is a folder QC bio minus int intro to Unix. Then day one, and what was the file? It was it. Just a second. Test. Okay. Day one test. And I specify where I want to use my current folder. So okay, it has downloaded the file.
And so you're using recurrent location with the period. And that tells you where you want it to come with you.
Period is, yeah, it's a path on my local machine. So I can use also absolute path or relative path. I used relative path. This is with dot sign.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah.
I'm trying to upload it to my option, but it's not showing up and it didn't have that doesn't give me like an error.
It doesn't give you any error message or
No,
Did-
it just goes like if you line
okay, we will see it later, okay? So the other option you can use SFTP for SFTP command for SSH file transfer protocol. So there is a file, so you use it like from your local machine. It's not on the Hoffman, but it's from your local machine. You put SFTP, and then again like your username. To the full address, and you now connected through the SFTP protocol. Mhm. SFTP. Okay. Okay. You see, you have a different indentation. So here you has commands like ls for listing remote files, LLS for listing your local files. Right? You can change directory for remotely. So there was which one, QC. You see a tab is also working. Double tab is also working. So you can change directory for local CD. For example, you see, it's my system. So LCD, all this. And then you can use commands get and put. So to download files to local computer, you use get. So you're fetching files, right? And so let's get some files, for example. So ls, and let's get readme. Yeah. And now when I ls, I see that this readme is on my file, on my local directory, right? To put the files, so put, for example, my test one to, okay, I'm putting my test one. And you see when I do ls, it's put it in the folder. Okay, so content is different. So this is another option. Oh, and to close terminal, to close SFTP, I just put by. Okay. Yeah. If you're using Mobile Storm or other advanced terminals program, so there is buttons for uploading and downloading files here. You can also use KeyBoardDuck, but I don't think it's free anymore, but very powerful tool. So it can synchronize your local system with remote systems. So just without copying the file, you can see the structure, you can use the files, you can modify them. Or other tools like FileZilla, it's just a layer over SFTP that allows you to see files and transfer them back and forth. So what manager did I use? It's like for Windows, there is WinSCP that I like to use. Okay. Here is your practice tasks that you can do at home. So you need to compress files into tar.gz and transfer files from and to your local computer from Hoffman using SCP and SFTP or GUI application. And now you can close your SSH terminal. So to close it, you just print exit. And now you close the connection. Oh, okay. I need to do it twice because I run bash twice. Okay. Okay. So if you cannot remember command, I just told you, you don't need to. First, you can always use help option. So for example, here I can use option SSH -- help. It lists me all the options that I have. Then I can use man command. Man SSH. Okay, so I can go through the manual reading. You can search here if you put the /bar. You can search it by keywords. You can search keywords like no command. See. You can read about how to use manual command. It's very useful one. So for example, you can use man - help. See? If your output do not fit to the screen, you can use command less help less through this vertical bar. Okay, and now you can read it back and forth, and you can also search the command. So see the same way. So the same way. And what else? Okay, so if you have any questions, you can email me, but most likely somebody else had the same questions before you, and your questions most probably already discussed on Stack Overflow, on Google, on Stack Exchange. So if you want to see some examples and exercises, you can go to tutorial point. And here's your homework. So did you see that we write very long names for connecting to the server? So I propose you to read about aliases, SSH aliases, how to config your SSH, and you can put a short acronym for your long name with address, right? And if you keep forgetting your password, first of all, I recommend you to write it down somewhere to keep it. I used some manager for keeping your passwords, but I also recommend you to set up your logging to SSH without the password. You can follow this link. So this is another exercise, and set up your password, your logging without password. Okay. Any questions? How do you access the slide? So you can use this GitHub link, so there are slides. I'm going to update it. So there is currently there are Dr. Boo's slides. So I can update it with my slides, but they're basically the same. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, then that's it for today. And have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
So sorry I missed out.